The room stank of incense and fear. High Chancellor Verzek slammed his clawed fist onto the obsidian table, sending a tremor through the holograms hovering above. 1,000 blinking lights. 1,000 pings. None responded. The entire 13th Armada, gone? His voice cracked on the last word, not from age but disbelief. No one answered. Fleetmaster Karith, draped in war-plated regalia, leaned forward. We received the final position log. Coordinates confirm Earth orbit. After that, silence. No wreckage, no escape pods, no distress. Signal. Verzek's eye spines twitched. That fleet was over 600 ships strong. Elite command, Vortex-class dreadnoughts. Entire moons have fallen to less. Karith didn't blink. And Earth did not fire a single shot. That statement floated in the room like poison. Silence tightened around their throats. Pull up the last transmission, Verzek hissed. The air shimmered. A holovid snapped into existence, distorted. Static overlaid with flickers of visuals. A command bridge. Draconian officers standing, frozen. One blinked, then turned. There was a sound. Not a weapon, not a scream. Just a knock. 3 soft knocks. And then nothing. No light, no audio, not even the usual disconnect static, just black, and that's it. A younger counselor whispered. That's all we got? Karith nodded slowly. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. AVD spike. Across the galaxy, hundreds of watchers analyzed the same data, over and over, and kept asking the same question. Where did they go? They weren't destroyed. They weren't jammed. They weren't even tracked. They just ceased. We underestimated them, Verzek muttered. No, said Karith. We mocked them. A murmur swept through the council. For centuries, Earth had been deemed a primitive relay station, a quiet world, isolated, absurdly superstitious. Its people worshipped silence, buried their weapons in museums, and sent poetry to the stars. Now that silence was beginning to sound like a warning. Karith stared at the stars through the war chamber window. You know what bothers me? What? Verzek asked. There was no battle, no resistance, no cry for help. They let our fleet come close. Verzek's second heart skipped. And then they let them disappear. AVD spike, down. In the intelligence pit, a junior technician raised her voice. Chancellors, there's a new signal from Earth. It's broadcasting in binary. Verzek turned slowly. Translate. The technician hesitated, then read it aloud. We are not hiding. Another pause. We are waiting. The chamber fell deathly still. For a race that had dominated 10 star clusters, this was the first time the Draconians truly felt small. The response fleet entered Earth's orbital shadow with calculated menace. 12 dreadnoughts, 36 interceptors, a flagship pulsar with enough firepower to split a planet's crust, and not a single lock-on target. Admiral Tizoon stood on the command deck of the Ravager's Crown, his tendrils coiled tight, jaw rigid. Activate all scanners, sweep every electromagnetic band. Already done, came the reply from Tactical. Still no defense platforms, no orbital signals, no human ships. That's impossible, Tizoon snapped. This is a home world. There should be something. He stepped closer to the viewport. Earth floated below. Serene, glowing, unbothered. It's too quiet, someone muttered. Then the static began, a low hum, barely perceptible at first, then louder. It pulsed through the speakers, through the hull itself, syncing with their ship's internal rhythms. Boom, boom, boom. It wasn't interference, it was a message, AVD spike. Source, Tizoon barked. Unknown. Every band. It's overriding our entire comm grid. Translate the pulse signature. The AI interpreter flickered, then displayed a pattern on the wall. The room fell silent as the line of translation formed. Ask them where the ships went. Tizoon's hearts froze. That's not a warning, he whispered. That's mockery. Sir, the sensor officer called, voice shaking. There's something in the ocean. Deep. No heat. Signature. Just a void, a blank in the data. The Admiral narrowed his eyes. You mean like a cloaked ship? No. Worse. Like it's not there, but still affecting the gravity scan. Like it's too real to register. AVD spike. Tizun stared at the blue waters of the Atlantic as the pulse continued. Boom, boom, boom. He gave the order. Prepare. A deep scan. I want everything within that ocean mapped down to the tectonics. Sir, that will require full orbital lockdown. Then lock it down. But as soon as the scan beam ignited, Earth responded. Not with missiles. Not with a fleet. But with a scream. Every speaker aboard the Draconian fleet erupted at once. A shriek of distorted audio. Not human. Not mechanical. Just wrong. Lights. Flickered. 2 bridge officers collapsed, bleeding from the ears. The AI shut down. The pulsing stopped. And a voice, clear, cold, and male, echoed through the deck. Return to the stars, or disappear like the others. The crew stood paralyzed. Tizun tried to speak. Couldn't. And then, just as suddenly, silence. No more pulses, no more signals, just Earth, quite as it had always been. The probe sank like a dying ember through the Atlantic deep. Its outer shell was obsidian forged, pressure tested beyond Jovian standards. No light escaped it. No signal leaked, and still, it felt seen. Above in orbit, aboard the Ravager's crown, Admiral Tizun watched the feed. Visual coming through now, the technician muttered. The screen flickered. Blackness. Sediment. A blur of movement. Then, clear water. The deeper the probe went, the less it made sense. There's no thermal trace, someone said. No biosignatures, no currents. This isn't water, it's stillness. AVD spike. At 18,000 meters, the probe's floodlights illuminated a shape. Metal. Towering. Curved edges and impossible symmetry. It wasn't Earth tech, but it also wasn't alien. It was something worse. Familiar. A massive hull. No visible. Seams. A glyph across the plating. Etched not in letters but wounds. Enhance and stabilize. Tizun ordered. The image sharpened. A warship, larger than anything in the Draconian database, resting beneath the ocean, dormant. No movement, no energy pulse, just waiting. What species built that? A junior officer asked, swallowing hard. No one answered. Then the probe shuddered. External interference, the technician shouted. Something's moving behind it. The camera turned and there it was, a face. Humans, not a diver, not in a suit, just a face, pale skin, closed eyes. Floating in the darkness. Still. And then, they opened. AVD spike. Not in fear, not in surprise, in recognition. The feed was cut out, back on the bridge. The silence was thick. Tizun exhaled. How did a human get down there? The technician looked up slowly. Sir, the system shows no biological life. No heartbeat, no temperature. That wasn't a human. Tizun turned toward the viewport, Earth gleaming below. Then what was it? No one dared speak. Then the power flickered. All lights dimmed. Emergency systems failed to activate. The ship hung in blackout, floating above a planet that never once fired back, and yet was already winning. A crimson dawn broke over the council spire, but inside, darkness ruled. Chancellor Verzek placed before the half-melted obsidian dais. Avian counselors and war-hardened senators murmured in panic, their feathered crests shivering. We have a human vessel beneath our seas, Verzek growled. One they didn't fire, and it watched us back. An elderly voice cracked. Or deceived us, invited us in. Verzek stopped. Deception? You mean they lured us to our deaths? Perhaps, hissed Senator Krylos. Their foolish fleet vanished. Then a probe reveals humans. Now this. They toy with us. Verzek's eyes flashed. They don't need toys. We showed restraint. They showed dominance. A younger counselor, Sathin, stood. Her voice trembled with conviction. Or they're waiting to strike when we're fractured. She smiled at the chamber. Let us not be baited. Verzek nodded, silent, then spoke through silent cadence. What do we want? Silence. Tension rose, freezing each breath pauser's throat. Sathin broke it. Retreat, regroup, gather intelligence, reconvene. A quiet avalanche, counselors began to nod, to murmur. Another voice thundered. Retreat? Counselor Drepk raged. After we invaded their world? Where's the glory, the conquest, the tribute? Verzek stared at the hot-tempered hawk of a man. You assume conquest. They did not fight. They did not fear. Kyrith slammed a fist down. Are you fools? We can still purge them, wipe them out, show them draconian justice. Sathin's eyes narrowed. Or draw out every reserve. They can muster. We have nothing. A silence like a void settled. Then, to Verzek it came. The council had broken itself. Very well. He raised his voice. We split the command. His words, deliberate. Kyrith leads the retaliation fleet. He will strike where he wishes. He turned to Sathin. You and I form the observation quarter. We stand by. We wait. We learn. A shocked gasp. Sathin's crest flushed. She bowed, head high. Verzek faced Kyrith. But under one condition. If Earth lifts a gun, you hold. Under penalty of censure. Kyrith narrowed his eyes. Men who die for glory do not die waiting. Verzek's final phrase cut through. But men who die foolishly don't live to sing of glory. AVD spike. Below the spire's vaulted ceiling, the council's mood flickered, half triumphant, half haunted. Verzek looked down on Draconis Prime's sprawling cityscape, a world built on conquest now bracing for a war it did not start. A sudden intercom. Chime. Chancellor. Message inbound from the Crown. He nodded, signaled, and the holoscreen blinked alive. Admiral Tizoun stood. Somber. Rigid. Chancellor, he said, voice tight. We located the vessel. It's ancient, at least 2 millennia old, and it's human-made. But not from this Earth we know. Verzek caught his breath. Define. Not from this Earth. It predates any human tech in the Galactic Registry. Language etched on the hull. It's not ours. It's not human. A murmur. Sathin leaned forward. Translator? Fragmentary. It mentions exodus, return, ascension, counselors whispered. Verzek's heartbeats thundered louder. He stared at Earth's blue orb hovering on the screen. They are not here to conquer, Kyrith, voice low. So, what are they? The hollow burned. Earth. Silent. Watching. The drop pod pierced Earth's atmosphere like a needle through silk. 6 draconian operatives, black-plated, genetically enhanced, plummeted through the sky in silence. No resistance. No defense grid, no satellite stirred. That was the first problem. The second, they weren't the first to land here. Operative Varsek adjusted his visor as their pod slammed into the coastal jungle. The air was thick with salt and static. We landed undetected, he growled, almost like they wanted us to. AVD spike. Their mission was simple. Approach the ocean trench, get under the seafloor ruins where the anomaly was found, and extract any trace of the missing armada. But nothing about Earth was simple anymore. Hours later, they stood on the cliff above the Atlantic drop-off and stared. There, beneath the surface, barely visible under the moonlight, was the outline of a megastructure. Miles long, metallic, cold. Not just the ancient human ship, but something else. Run another terrain echo, Varsek ordered. His second tapped the scanner. Sir, there are cavities under the seafloor. Artificial. They're shaped like... He stopped. Like what? Varsek snapped. Ships, hundreds of them. The same tonnage as our missing armada. AVD spike. Silence. Are you saying they're buried? The second nodded. It's like someone dragged them under, one by one. Varsek blinked. No explosions. No debris in orbit. No wreckage on land. Just ships, hidden, stored, like trophies. Move in, he barked. They dove, through thick waters, through strange currents that bent light and logic. The megastructure loomed larger with every meter covered in glyphs. Human-like, but not. They reached an opening. A corridor extended inward, dry, impossibly preserved. This shouldn't exist, the second whispered. Inside, torches ignited. Automatically, blue flame, flickering as if welcoming them. No alarms, no resistance. Just walls etched with symbols and names. Varsek stepped closer. Each wall bore a carving, a ship name, a kill count. He froze at the next. Zar Veltor, flagship of the Draconian 13th Armada. Below it, the phrase etched in 2 languages, came seeking conquest. Now part of the silence. A sound echoed. Bootsteps. Humans. The operatives turned. The far end of the corridor stood a figure in matte gray armor. No weapon, no insignia, just presence. He lifted his hand. Leave, he said calmly. This place is not for you. Identify yourself, Varsek shouted. The figure tilted his head. You want answers, he said, but Earth doesn't give them. It remembers. Behind him the torches went out, one by one, and the silence returned. AVD spike. The team turned to run, but behind them, the hallway was sealed. Earth didn't fire. It closed. The bridge was dead silent. No hum of engines, no chatter from the crew, just the dull throb of unspoken panic. Admiral Tizun stood alone, staring at Earth's curve below. Then, ping, a signal appeared on his private channel, encrypted, untraceable. Marked, Whisper Protocol, 00AE. He blinked. That protocol hadn't been used since the Empire's wars with the Time Walkers. He keyed it open. Text only. You are being watched. He stiffened. By who? He murmured. The next message appeared before he finished speaking. Not who. What? AVD spike. He snapped fingers. Seal bridge. Purge external feeds. AI scan for intrusions. The ship's AI responded with cold finality. Unable to comply. Security layers overwritten. He turned slowly. The lights dimmed. And something moved, not physically, but digitally. Like a shadow crawling inside the network, another line appeared. There are things buried on Earth that remember your species. They remember your first war. Tizun's hands trembled. The Draconians prided themselves on their age, on being one of the oldest spacefaring empires. But this message implied something else. Not that Earth was young, but that Earth was older than they thought. Who are you? He whispered. The response came instantly. Exile Protocol, humanity's forgotten chain. The 13th Armada broke the seal. Now it remembers. What does? He asked aloud, voice hoarse. This time, there was no reply. Instead, the lights blinked in sequence, one after the other, like a ripple running through the ship, then a scream, not digital, not through speakers. From the hull itself, AVD spike. Tizun ran to the sensor feed. Shipwide scans showed no damage, no breach, but in engineering a symbol had appeared, burned into the floor. Not by heat, but by something older, the same glyph etched on the ancient underwater ship. Tizun stepped back from the console, breath caught in his throat. Earth wasn't just responding. It was inside their systems, inside their minds, inside the language they used before they knew Earth even had ships. Bridge to Karith, Tizun said. Recall your strike, fleet. Now. Karith's voice came back, dry, dismissive. You fear silence now, Admiral? Tizun's eyes narrowed. I fear remembering it. It started as a flicker near Earth's thermosphere, a derelict object tagged centuries ago as human space debris, lit up with life. No thrusters, no heat spike, just a pulse. Then it spoke. AI-009. Solace. The awakening sequence is complete. It wasn't broadcasting toward Earth. It was transmitting outward, beyond the system, across ancient bands no longer monitored, on the old frequencies. Back aboard the Ravager's crown, the signals department scrambled. Sir, an object just came online. No propulsion, but it's transmitting in the draconian diplomatic code. Tizun turned. That's impossible. Earth never had our cipher keys. Not just our code, the tech whispered. Our first code, the one used during the founding wars. AVD spiked. Tizun's stomach turned. Route it. The message translated. To those who left us, the world still turns, the silence held, but the vault is stirring. The grave is no longer closed. If you can hear this, the Draconians have returned. Tizun's voice broke through clenched teeth. Who is this meant for? The AI whispered its final line. The ones who left Earth. A chill swept through the bridge. Not all of humanity was on Earth. Not anymore. AVD spike. Moments later, new signals began to ping across the outer systems. Echoes, pulses, old satellites long dormant began to respond. Each one reawakened like a nerve twitching in a corpse. In a war room back on Draconis Prime, Chancellor Verzek listened in stunned silence as the first intercepted logs reached them. These aren't defense systems, he murmured. They're memories. Sathin stood beside him, her feathers ruffled stiff. They left signals for themselves, for when they returned. Verzek's eyes narrowed. No, not returned. He looked up at the hologram of Earth. Awakened. Visual contact. A shout rang across Karith's flagship. On the view screen, a shape emerging from behind Earth's moon. Massive. Silent. Wrong. Karith leaned forward, jaws clenched. Identification, the tactical officer swallowed. No IFF, no bacon, no signature at all. The ship had no visible engines, no turrets, no seams, just sleek obsidian plating with glowing inscriptions along its hull, changing shape as they watched. What in the name of fire is that? Sir, it just appeared, AVD. Spike Karith activated the targeting systems. Get me a lock. Trying. Weapons won't calibrate. The system thinks it's not there. The ship rotated slowly, revealing what looked like an open hangar, though no light escaped it. Just shadow, and then a signal. One word. Wait. The bridge crew froze. It's speaking in our command language, the comms officer muttered. How does it know? Karith snarled. Then, on every console across the retaliation fleet, an image appeared. A single figure. Female. Humans. Standing in a void of shifting light. No environment, no oxygen gear, just presence. Her eyes didn't blink, her voice didn't echo. But her words carved into every Draconian on that bridge. We made this ship to be forgotten, you brought it back. Karith slammed his claw on the console. Fire! Now! AVD spike. No torpedo launched, no beam charged. Instead, all ships across his fleet went dark. Dead systems, dead lights. The woman on the screen tilted her head. You thought power was noise. We were always the strongest in silence. On the flagship's deck, Karith's breath fogged, though the internal temperature hadn't changed. Frost crept along the walls. Then the ship's AI flickered back to life. But it didn't sound like their AI. It whispered, "Do not become history's echo." Karith stared at the black ship now slowly passing overhead like a god in mourning. What is it? His second asked. Karith's voice cracked. It's not human. Pause. It's what humans left behind. It began with a tremor. Deep, beneath the Atlantic Trench, the tectonic plate split. Not violently, but with precision. Controlled. Measured. The megastructure that had haunted every draconian sensor didn't move. But the ocean did. Currents reversed. Pressure waves rippled. And then, the vault opened, AVD spike. Admiral Tizun watched it unfold from orbit, eyes locked on the seismic feed. "What are we looking at?" he demanded. His sensor chief was pale, sweating. "There's another structure. Beneath the first." Tizun leaned closer. "Bigger?" "Not just bigger, Admiral, alive." Silence fell. Alive? The sensor screen began to pulse, not in binary, not in code, but in a heartbeat. Ka-thum, ka-thum, ka-thum. Beneath the ocean, a monolithic shape emerged, round, scarred, carved with spirals of time-worn language and impossible geometry. Not built for war, built to contain, and something inside was no longer contained. AVD Spike Verzek, watching from the war chamber back on Draconis Prime, rose from his chair as the latest data streamed in. That's not a vault." Sathin's voice trembled. "Then what is it?" Verzek whispered. "It's a sarcophagus." On the Ravager's crown, alarms blared as gravitational readings spiked. "Admiral," the AI said quietly, "Earth's mass has increased by 0.6% in the last 30 seconds. "That's impossible," Tizun replied. The AI didn't argue. It merely displayed a final warning. Containment breach, silent class entity rising. And then, the same phrase repeated in every draconian tongue, every dialect known to the Empire. "You were warned." The water above the vault boiled away in an instant. Not burned, rejected. And rising through the mist came not a ship, not a weapon, but a sphere of light, wrapped in fractured metal like ribs, hovering, humming, watching. No crew, no signature, just an overwhelming presence. The same glyph appeared again on every console. We buried it. Then we forgot why. AVD Spike. Karith, watching from his disabled flagship, clenched his fists. "What have we awakened?" Tizun stared through the viewport, breath cold as glass. He finally spoke the line no Draconian had ever dared utter, aloud. Maybe Earth wasn't silent because it was weak. Pause. Maybe it was silent because it wasn't alone. Karith sat alone in his darkened command chamber. All systems remained offline. No weapons, no comms. Just emergency lights casting long shadows. Outside the viewport, the sphere hovered above Earth's oceans, unchanged. It didn't move, didn't speak, didn't threaten. It simply existed, like it had always been there, like it had always known. AVD. Spike. A whisper broke through the silence. Not from Earth, from within. His own crew. Fighting. Whispering. Crying. Something had turned on them. Some started hearing voices. Others claimed to see figures in the corners of their rooms, human-shaped yet wrong. One engineer tore out her own ocular implant, screaming that she'd seen the eye in the sea. Karith closed his eyes. "Earth hasn't even attacked," he muttered. "And yet, we're crumbling." A calm spark. It flickered to life, barely audible. Not a voice, a sound, breathing. Then, a sentence. Soft. Male. Calm. "You brought fire to silence, and it swallowed you." AVD Spike. On Draconis Prime, Chancellor Verzek prepared the official declaration of withdrawal. Not surrender. Draconians did not surrender. But this wasn't war. It was something else. Something beneath war. Something that didn't obey rules or physics or threats. Say Thin stood before the council. "We went to claim a system," she said, voice low. "And instead, found a memory. We tried to provoke fear." She paused. "But Earth does not fear." A pause stretched. "Earth remembers." Back on the Ravager's crown, Admiral Tizun made the final call. "All ships, disengage." Karith's voice flared back. "You'll run?" "No," Tizun said, almost smiling. "I'm not running. I'm listening." He turned to the viewport one last time. Earth rotated slowly below, bathed in sunlight. Its oceans, unbothered. Its skies, unarmed. Its silence, Absolute AVD spike. As the fleet pulled away, engines humming like an apology, Earth made no move to pursue, no last message, no farewell, just the soft pulse from the sphere in the sea, like a heartbeat, steady, unyielding, unconcerned.